Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are diving straight into the true financial reality of wreath keeping. You know, way too often, people jump into this hobby thinking they're just buying a glass box and some water. Well, we're going to completely reframe that mindset today. We need to treat a reef tank exactly like what it actually is, a multi-year operating system. It requires serious planning, ongoing maintenance, and a really clear understanding of costs that go way, way beyond that initial swipe of your credit card. There's a quote from our source material that perfectly validates why so many new hobbyists feel financially overwhelmed so quickly. It says budgets fall short because expenses are spread out across multiple categories, some up front and others totally invisible until months later. It's exactly like an iceberg. We usually only see the tip when we start out, but it's that massive, invisible structure of ongoing expenses lurking beneath the surface that absolutely sinks most budgets. So, to demystify this budget, we've structured this explainer into 5 distinct phases: upfront setup, recurring consumables, livestock variables, approach tiers, and finally, the true cost formula. Let's start above the waterline with Section 1, the upfront system setup. This is all about the tangible life support gear, which is for sure going to be your biggest initial capital expenditure. Everyone expects the tank and the stand to be pricey, but lighting is often the true budget buster. Seriously, reef-capable LED fixtures are usually the single most expensive item you'll buy. And hey, whatever you do, don't skip an RO/DI setup for your saltwater prep. Investing in your own water purification right out of the gate is absolutely critical for long-term cost control. Moving right along to Section 2. Recurring and hidden consumables. We're plunging below the surface now to look at the recurring operating expenses that hit you every single month. You literally cannot escape the basic physics of a reef tank. Water evaporates, forcing frequent top-offs, your gear draws electricity 24/7, and you'll constantly need salt and test kits. Just a quick heads up though, overbuying trace additives is a super common trap. Don't fall for expensive magic potions unless your testing proves you actually need them. Now here's a key budget driver that really confuses beginners: tank size. You might naturally assume a smaller tank is automatically cheaper. Well, in terms of sheer volume of salt and electricity, yes it is. But larger tanks offer significantly better biological stability. In a big volume of water, parameters drift much slower. So, while you're buying more salt for a large tank, the costs don't scale linearly because you're effectively buying a buffer against sudden, catastrophic, and highly expensive crashes. So that begs a question. What adds up quietly behind the scenes? We've accounted for salt, water, and power, but what is secretly draining our wallets? It's the insidious, hidden maintenance costs. We're talking chemical filtration media, replacement parts for wear and tear items, or even tiny things like a failed auto top-off sensor. Even an endless supply of algae wipes and siphon tubing will quietly drain a poorly planned budget over time. Which brings us to Section 3. Livestock and risk, your largest variable cost. Let's talk about the actual inhabitants of your reef. This is the fun part, but it's exactly where budgets can become wildly unpredictable. You just have to embrace a harsh biological reality here. Despite your absolute best efforts, livestock losses happen. It could be a hitchhiking pest, intense stress from shipping, compatibility issues, or a parameter drift. It is just a reality of the hobby. Because of that, your budget has to be honest about the risk. You aren't just budgeting for that initial beautiful coral. You need to explicitly allocate funds for a separate quarantine setup, potential pest control treatments, and, vitally, a financial buffer for inevitable replacements. I absolutely love this insight from the text. Going slow can actually reduce replacement costs, even if it delays the completion of your tank. In a world of instant gratification, patience is literally a cost-saving measure in this hobby. So how do you actually minimize that risk right out of the gate? Let's check out Section 4. Choosing your approach tier. How you approach your build heavily dictates your spending. If you're on a budget, you focus on stable basics, reliable lighting, strong circulation, and your RO/DI unit. Step up to the mid-range, and you start paying for added automation like controllers. Go premium, and you're paying for total redundancy with high-end monitors and automated dosing systems. And here is arguably the single most important takeaway of this entire explainer. The most expensive reef tank is the one that keeps needing fixes. Seriously, let that sink in. Buying cheap, unreliable equipment that leads to a leak or a temperature swing is almost always more expensive over time than just buying quality gear once. Repeated troubleshooting is the absolute enemy of a reasonable budget.
Finally, let's pull all of this together in Section 5, the true cost formula.
By stacking these 4 steps, you create a realistic, long-term financial model. Step 1 is your CapEx, your capital expenditures on the initial setup. Step 2 is your OPEX, your monthly operating costs. Step 3 accounts for those hidden maintenance costs and replacements. And Step 4 is your livestock purchases paired with that dedicated contingency buffer. I really want to emphasize that contingency buffer one more time. Having a fund built up early is exactly what prevents a minor issue from becoming a total disaster. Think about it. If a heater fails on a Sunday night, you need to buy a replacement immediately. That simple buffer is what prevents a $50 equipment failure from compounding and wiping out thousands of dollars in sensitive livestock. So I'll leave you with this provocative question to consider before you start loading up an online shopping cart. Are you ready to invest in an operating system of stability, or will you pay the compounding price of a one-time purchase mindset? The Reef deeply rewards consistent planning, and your financial strategy should reflect exactly that. Plan smart, budget for the invisible, and your tank will be a massive success. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.